So this is going to be the second year of the Gen 3 era. So if we look back, we've had two previous generations of this form of Formula racing. And, well, what have we learned so far? What are the takeaways? And actually, ultimately, what was the best version so far? So hang around to the end of the video to hear what my favourite Gen era. So if you cast your mind back to Gen 1 and the original inception of Formula E, it was really trying to find its feet. You had cars that didn't have the battery capacity to complete full races. You had drivers like Sebastian Buemi arguing with other drivers. It made it a very lively sport, but you could also feel that it was a series that was trying to make its best. It was trying to be a competitive sport. Now, ultimately, Formula E brought something that no other Formula race so far has done properly, and that was bring street racing into big urban areas. Something that even nowadays still can't be done properly. I mean, the Formula One tried it in Las Vegas, but let's be honest, they had to build an entire new infrastructure. Formula E has always prided itself on the fact that it raced on street circuits. And let's be honest, that's what makes it interesting to watch. And you could see the hiccups, you could see the bumps that it was struggling to overcome. Ultimately, Gen 1 was entertaining. Let's be honest about it. There was some real interesting stuff. Incidences with drivers, there was crashes, there was a varied smorgasbord of things to look at. Then we drifted into the Gen 2 era. Now, to me, this was the biggest change. Notably, you had cars that could now complete races without having to do driver swaps. And we entered the peloton era of Formula E. These cars had close quarter driving. This is something that I really think was the primal aspect of Formula E. It was getting cars close, tight together. And let's be honest, Formula E in the Gen 2 era saw some fantastic overtakes. We saw some really interesting and dynamic driving from a lot of drivers out there on the field. It was in the Gen 2 era where we really started to get a sense of identity from the drivers as well. Let's be honest, Formula E in the early days was always referred to as a dumping ground for old F1 drivers. And there was some merit in that statement. However, with the Gen 2 cars, we started to get some genuine drivers that were genuinely engaged with the sport, and this was their main thriving focus. Ultimately, there was a few crashes, and let's be honest, we learnt the cars didn't really perform that very well in the wet. We also had Formula E's first night race, and we also had a Formula E world champion actually transition over to Formula 1. And now we have the Gen 3 era. So again, a big step up in the cars, no surprise there. However, with the Gen 3 era, for me, I know we're only going on the back of one season here, but it started to carve itself out a really interesting niche. You've got those same crop of drivers that have come through from Gen 2 that really want the championship. We have now got the ability, certainly when the Gen 3.1 car comes online, to utilise the front axle to make these cars four-wheel drive. Yes, I know some people aren't keen on that, and it should be a rear-wheel drive series only, as most formulas are. However, if you could turn the front motor on and actually get a better spectacle, why would you not do that? And obviously with the Gen 3 car, we've now got the introduction of electric rapid recharging, so that's just another string to its bow. I think the thing for me with the Gen 3 era is technology driven. For me, Gen 1 was entertaining. Gen 2 was when the racing really started to come alive. And Gen 3 is the real technological push to make these cars more impressive than they already are. Now, I know we're only going off of one season of Gen 3 at the moment. However, from what I've seen so far, my preference is still the Gen 2 era. However, I look forward to seeing what the current generation of car can bring to us and see how the sport can develop over the next few years.